space is not silent. It is filled with the echoes of dead machines. Thousands of satellites, launched during the height of the Cold War, now drift as frozen tombs of silicon and steel. Most stay dead forever. But in early 2024, something impossible happened. A satellite known as Oscar 7, launched in 1974 and declared dead in 1981 due to a complete battery failure, suddenly began to scream. It wasn't a distressor signal. It wasn't a malfunction. It was a broadcast. For 43 years, this machine had been a ghost. Then, without warning, its solar panels caught a specific angle of light, and it rebooted. But it didn't reboot with its original programming. Ham radio operators around the world began capturing a high-speed data stream that defied explanation. It wasn't the analog telemetry of the 70s. It was a modern, highly encrypted digital ledger. As cryptographers began to peel back the layers of this ghost signal, they realized they weren't looking at a transmission from the past. They were looking at a prophecy that had been waiting in the vacuum of space for half a century. The data was structured in blocks. Each block contained a series of cryptographic hashes that looked hauntingly familiar to anyone involved in modern finance. It was a ledger. But not just any ledger. It was a chronological record of transactions involving a digital asset that didn't exist when the satellite was built. The hashes matched the early architecture of the Bitcoin blockchain. However, there was a terrifying discrepancy. The timestamps in the satellite's broadcast were dated between 1998 and 2005. This was years before Satoshi Nakamoto published the white paper, and a decade before the first block was ever mined on Earth. How could a dead satellite, drifting in the void since the 80s, possess a record of a digital gold that hadn't been invented yet? The implication was chilling. The technology we think we invented in 2009 was actually being calculated and broadcast from space long before we had a name for it. Someone, or something, was using the ionosphere as a giant hard drive, storing the blueprints of a global financial revolution in a place where no government could reach it. In the late 90s, a group of cryptographers known as the cypherpunks discussed the idea of spacebit, a way to broadcast financial freedom from orbit to bypass state censorship. But the technology was deemed too expensive, too complex. Yet, the Oscar 7 signal contains a specific signature, a Genesis key that appeared in the private emails of a developer who disappeared in 2011. This key suggests that the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto might not be a person, but a collective of engineers who realized that for a decentralized system to truly survive, it couldn't live on Earth. It had to be hosted in the one place where laws don't apply, the graveyard of orbit. The satellite wasn't just broadcasting data, it was acting as a dead man's switch. It was designed to stay silent as long as the internet remained free. But as global censorship increased and financial systems began to fracture, the ghost signal was triggered. It is a backup of the original vision of the internet, unfiltered, unowned, and unstoppable. As of today, the signal from Oscar 7 continues to pulse every time it enters the sunlight. Analysts have found that the ledger is still growing. It is receiving data from other ghost satellites in a daisy chain network that spans the entire globe. We are not just watching a piece of space junk. We are watching the birth of a secondary, celestial internet. A network that exists outside the reach of fiber optic cables and government firewalls. It tells us that the truth cannot be buried, not even in the cold reaches of space. If the systems on Earth fail, the ledger remains, It is the ultimate testament to human ingenuity, or perhaps a gift from a future that we are only just beginning to understand. The ghost is still talking. The question is, who is listening on the other side? The signals are there. All you have to do is look up.